In Demo 8, we're going to look at the single topic of tabs. I've gotten a list here of historical bridges in Oregon. Not a complete list, but a list long enough to show what we want to do here with the tabs. We want to create columns by using tabs, not columns by using columns that we saw in Demo 6. So we're going to set tabs up on our horizontal ruler to create these columns. So we're going to spread out tabs. By default, the tabs happen every ½ inch. So notice, see that little line right there? That's telling you there's a tab at that position. So in the Mac version, we can see these tabs. Over on the left-hand side, we look at a left tab. So if I were to click on the ruler somewhere, say right here, a left tab would appear, and any tab prior to it, to the left, would disappear because this now has priority. So when you hit the tab, it's going to jump. Watch what happens when I hit the tab here with my cursor in front of the word list. Jumps over, lines up with that tab. It's a left alignment. Then we show the non-printing character because we have our show non-printing character icon active. So that is good, but it's not going to help down here. So what I have to do is go to each one of these, and in this particular case, I'm going to line up these identifiers, this column title information. I'm going to line them up on centering tabs. So I'm going to pick over here center. Notice I get right decimal bar, which is kind of a separator and not really a tab at all. Then there's the tabs dialog box. We'll go to that in a little bit. So I'm going to click center and notice the centering tab. So now when I click somewhere, a tab that is a centering tab will appear. So there's my first tab. Put another tab there. Notice things are moving down below. Put another tab here and the fourth tab over here. But notice there's only 3 tabs because I haven't tabbed the first position. So I'm going to tab the first position, the word name, and tab that. So it lines up under the first tab. Notice it's centered. Built lines up under the second tab, listed, and then location. So each one of those now has their own position. You can move these tabs around if you want. And for the sake of the situation, I'm going to move that one there, move this one back a little bit. So you have freedom to move those tabs. Notice when I go down to the Belknap Bridge here, those tabs are gone because this wasn't part of the setting up of tabs for this line. So I want to set up tabs now for the rest. So I'm going to highlight them. If I do it for one, it'll do it for them all. So I'm going to highlight that, go back up here, I'm going to go back to my left tab and say, okay, I want my left tab to go right about here. Then I'm going to put a tab right about here. Then I'm going to put a tab listed. I want to put it a little bit in front of that word and a little bit in front of location. So that looks pretty good, except for the fact that now we have to move the tab over. For all of these, we have to create a first tab. Since they're highlighted, I can do that simply by hitting the tab key. Notice they all move over. Here's the problem. Notice that we have a situation here where the date is way back here. Same thing with the Cape Creek. And then over here, the listed is here, and it's just not lining up right. So you can work after the fact, which is a good thing. So you get an idea of what it looks like, but now we need to make some changes. So let's take this built tab and make sure that it's after the longest name here, which looks like Deadwood Creek. Then we're going to take the next tab and move it over, which is going to be the listed tab. Just give enough space there. Then we'll take this tab and move it over. Just give it enough space there. Now we've got things all lined up in nice columns except for the Gallon House Bridge, which isn't lined up very well. So now we've got to work with the Gallon House Bridge. That means we're going to have to move some things back. So let's move this tab back a little bit. We have space, we can do that. And this tab back a little bit. Now that Silverton has moved up there, that should make things more correct. Okay, notice I didn't select Hayden Bridge with the rest of them. So I'm going to Format Painter, click on the paragraph, and it automatically creates the tabs for that situation based on the other tabs that were there. Notice we also have to move the title, column titles tabs around. So we go into the column title, find out where they are, and let's move the name over just a bit. Built definitely has to move over to line up with its column. Listed needs to move over, and location needs to move over. So now that's a little bit better, nicer looking in all. So there we go. Now that's one way of working with tabs, just straight off of the horizontal ruler, working over here. Now let's go look at the tab dialog box. Here's the tab dialog box. In the tab dialog box, and remember we're in this first one right here, in this first line, that's where the cursor is, we have all of these positions we've created. So you can physically type in a position, length, and they're all centered. We could change them all to left if we wanted to, but we'd have to do them individually. So we click on the first one, change it to left, and then set it. You got to remember to set. Plus we have leaders here. So that's kind of an interesting situation where you can create dotted lines like in an index or a table of contents. So we're going to cancel this out and actually do that with the bottom one. So I'm going to grab all of these, I'm going to select all of these, including the Hayden Bridge, which I forgot to earlier. We're going to go back to the dialog box, and we're going to take the very last one, which is the location. That's this one right there, 3.81, and we're going to add a dotted leader. We're going to set that, and we're going to say OK. So now let's take off the show hide, and you notice we have a dotted leader. And if I were to move this paragraph over, the dotted leader moves as well. So there's a quick look at tabs and how to set tabs. You don't have to do every line exactly the same. They can be different, just so that you have a look that is more column oriented when you have a list of items like this. Silverton back where it belongs. Very good.